Yes. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to our special Heart Health Monday night tonight. We have got a special guest and a great friend of Cammie's and mine, Dr. Jon Harmon, is going to join us. We're going to get to ask him some questions. But before we introduce Dr. Harmon, I'm going to get started here real quick and share some information to kind of set the stage of what we're talking about tonight. So Dr. Harmon is going to be sharing with you the most amazing thing that any of us have experienced to change our bodies and help us be on our A game. Uh, we're talking about wearable light technology patches. And the company is LifeWave. The flagship product is called X39. And we'll be sharing some information about that tonight. And I ran across this. You can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a health problem. And then really you only have one problem. And then those things you used to worry about, they don't matter anymore because your body or mind is screaming for help. So we're going to talk about that tonight, what that might look like. And it might be kind of different help than you may have expected and experienced in the years past. We're talking technology. And we're talking light therapy. It comes in many different forms: infrared saunas, red light therapy, and Dr. Harmon's going to share more insight into that. But I do want to give you our disclaimer because, well, Dr. Harmon is a doctor. He's not your doctor. Cammie and I are not doctors, and we're just here to help share a holistic wellness product that has made such a difference in our lives. But as always, we'd like you to consult with your doctor or practitioner regarding any medical treatment or issues you may have. So I am now going to turn this over to Dr. Harmon.
Just turning it over just like that.
Well, I'm going to turn this over to Cammie. I'm sorry. Cammie is going to end up turning this over.
You don't know how much in danger you could be.
We just hand him the keys to this Maserati. Here you go.
I trust him that much. I give him the keys to my Maserati. Remember when I said I was
a pretty aggressive skier?
But first, I'm actually going to turn it over to Cammie Bretko, my amazing partner and friend in this. And she's going to introduce Dr. Harmon.
Well, it's an honor and a joy to have you here, Dr. Harmon. And it's especially special for me because I wouldn't know about these patches if it weren't for Tracy having a conversation with you about the patches and about my Alan, who was a chiropractor who had a major heart attack and was in very bad shape at the hospital. So I'm deeply thankful for this. And for me, knowing about this and learning about this wouldn't have happened without you and Tracy. So I thank you for that. And it's an honor and a joy to have shared space with you and learned from you. Thank you so much for your books on copper peptides and epitalin and just for being so passionate to share about this. So it's an honor and a joy to call you friend and joke around with you and hand you the keys to our Maserati here. So take it away.
Well, I have to tell you, it's been just a joy getting to know both of you, Cammie and Tracy. Our interactions and our association up in Washington, so much fun and so enriching. And to see your team growing is, it brings me a lot of joy to think I had a little tiny part in helping you out and getting you going. That brings me joy as well. So I do have a lot of perspective on cardiovascular health. You're talking about heart health and talking about, the heart attack.
Yes.
And, if you want me to just go ahead and get started on that, I like to start by talking about what the cardiovascular system is made up of. Mm-hmm. We have the structure, we have a pumping mechanism, we have the vessels. What are they made of? A very important property or aspect of cardiovascular health is the inside lining. called the endothelium. So we have those parts, but we also have the prospect of facing a clot that would be involved in, cells sticking together for some reason. We have issues of vessels getting weakened, and then we can get an aneurysm. We have stroke, which is you have a bleed. We have a clot, which can cause the stroke because cells got too sticky. But we can also have the inside lining that starts to get diseased or dysfunctional, and then we can start to get the atherosclerotic plaquing on the inside of that lining that can also occlude those vessels. And so there are several different aspects of that. I want to start by the basics, or with the basics. And that is, what does the GHK copper do? What is it known for? It's the great repairer of collagen. So what is made of collagen? Well, let's start with the aorta. Our blood vessels are made of collagen. And so it's always interesting to me when people say, I used the patches for a month and I didn't notice anything. And, coming from the perspective of my heart issue that I had, that I didn't even know I had until I was using the patches for 4.5 months. 4.5 months. I had my first stress echocardiogram done. The other aspect that I didn't mention yet about the heart is the electrical pulses that fire up the contraction of the heart. So the right bundle branch has to do with the conductivity to the right ventricle. If you look up RBBB, right bundle branch block, you will find that all-cause mortality goes up if you have an RBBB, right bundle branch block. So here I am. I'm going to be 71 in July. I had a right bundle branch block. I don't have a right bundle branch block. So my wife, my kids, my 27 grandkids have their husband, dad, and grandpa going to be around a lot longer. But here's the key. Here's the crucial bit of information I want you to remember about that. Not that it was me, not that it was a right bundle branch block, but the fact that I didn't even know I had it. So the question is, how could I be measuring something that I don't even know I have? I didn't know I had it. A year and a half later, I had another stress echo. It was gone. So think about if I never had those two tests, I never would have known I had a right bundle branch block. It would have gone away, and I still wouldn't have known one thing about it. That's why I tell people all the time, this is my personal opinion. And by the way, Cammie's right. I'm a doctor. I'm not your doctor. I'm not your cardiologist. So your results may be different than mine, but my results were that I had a right bundle branch block. I have the documentation that it no longer exists. My life has changed from that point on, even though I didn't know I have it. And here's another thing I want you to remember. Our organs are enclosed in this skeleton, so they're really protected, so they don't have to connect with the outside world. They don't have sensory nerves. So how am I going to feel if my kidneys are getting better? How am I going to feel if my bones are getting better? They don't have sensory nerves. The periosteum around the has a lot of sense. That's where the nerves and arteries are. But the bone itself, where you either got normal bone density or osteoporosis or osteopenia or osteoporosis, you don't feel that. We don't feel things like that because it doesn't have to connect with the outside world. It's inside. So keep that in mind when people are saying, well, I didn't feel anything. Always ask them first thing, what are you measuring?
That's huge.
What are you measuring? Well, I go to my doctor every year and I get my blood tests done and I get my hormone levels checked. I get my blood pressure checked. I might get liver function, thyroid function. I can tell you, as sure as we are on this Zoom right now, there are people in your city who are going to die tonight from something they don't even know they have, even though they've gone to their doctor every year for a checkup, who did blood work and said, you're good. Your blood pressure's fine. So if you're not measuring every single aspect of your body, you might not know things are changing. And that's really important for this next thing I want to tell you about your aorta. GHK is essential in and helpful in collagen repair and maintenance. It's also very important in elastin maintenance and repair. Elastin is what makes vessels flexible. So if you have a strong, flexible aorta your entire life, guess what you're not likely to get? An aneurysm. Aneurysm is when the walls of the aorta get weak and they're not flexible, and you get an aortic aneurysm. That's a big bulge in it, or like a dissecting aneurysm. It actually, because the walls are so fragile, the pressure of the blood actually cuts into the inside lining of the aorta, and then it travels down between the layers of the aorta. My brother-in-law died from that about 15 years ago. It dissected into his aorta and went clear down into his femoral arteries. And it's horrible. He had 5 kids. It wasn't good. I didn't know about the patches back then. We didn't even have the X39. So think about that. What is the number one killer? Cardiovascular disease.
Mm-hmm.
Another aspect of cardiovascular health is the inside lining of our vessels. That's what was weak in my brother-in-law. So the endothelium lining has to be really helpful. That's helped. What helps maintain that is not only GHK, but also carnosine. Excuse me, carnosine is very essential in helping to maintain the endothelium. So heart health, yes, GHK, yes, epitalin. I'm focusing mostly on GHK right now. So you think about the number one killer, you've got the structure of the aorta being affected, you have the endothelium being affected, but now let's talk about this thing that we all, our bodies are trying to keep in balance all day long, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're eating, it's trying to keep it in balance. And that is, how sticky are our blood cells, our red blood cells in our cardiovascular system? You have to have some stickiness. Otherwise, if you got a cut, it would just keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. You would die from that, hemorrhage. Or if you got an internal bleed, it would just keep bleeding. So you have to be able to clot. Well, what helps us do that is a substance called fibrinogen. Fibrinogen makes our blood cells, our red blood cells, sticky. And if they get too sticky, obviously more cells stick together. And if enough of them do, then you get a blockage in a vessel. So there was this study done, a 10-year study on men in Sweden. And what they did, they looked at all aspects of cardiovascular health. And if someone had a high fibrinogen level, they were 2.6 times more likely to die from a stroke. So here's the connection. GHK inhibits a gene that's involved in making fibrinogen. So what it does, it keeps our fibrinogen level in check, prevents it from getting, here I go, I'm going to make more fibrinogen, and then you have more blood cells that stick together. So that's another very, very important property of the GHK copper peptide. So if this is all the GHK copper peptide did, this reduces, in my opinion, the #1 risk for humans in the world, cardiovascular disease. But there are so many other aspects to the GHK. GHK also helps with the transport of oxygen through the body. So now we're talking about people not getting so winded, just, as we age. Oh man, it's hard walking through the house. I can't stand up long enough to make my own lunch. Helping with the oxygen transport. This is why they're really catching on with athletes as well. But here's what I've never heard anybody else talk about this stuff. I geek out on it, but this next thing has to do with both our heart and our skeletal muscle, where there's hypoxia, where there's decreasing oxygen. So let's just take an athlete for a minute. The athlete is working out. You're doing 3 sets of 12, and on that 10th and 11th, my biceps are on fire. What is that? Well, when we don't have enough oxygen, that hypoxia makes it feel like burning, and also the lactic acid. But there's a whole process that kicks in when we have hypoxia or deprivation of oxygen. There's a message sent up to the brain. The brain says, start up the GHK copper peptide factory, and it sends down GHK, and then it signals or creates this situation where these enzymes are brought out to basically dissolve holes into the muscle and then rapidly infiltrate it with capillaries, whether it's your biceps or whether it's your heart. What's myocardial infarction? That's where the muscle was deprived of oxygen, heart muscle. So if you have a low GHK in your body, you're not likely to be able to reproduce or create this situation where your body can send down GHK, the enzymes dissolve, poke little holes in the muscles. They basically eat little holes into it, and then capillaries rapidly grow into it. That's why you've all seen the little boy's fingertip that was cut off in the testimonials. That's why when the dad said, I'll take responsibility, when the surgeon said it was going to die, I take responsibility to have this stem cell activation patch thing. So now the surgeon sewed it on. Guess what happened? Brain sends down, hey, start up the copper peptide factory, and it's time to poke some holes, grow some capillaries. That is what the GHK is known. That's why they call it the emergency response peptide in the literature. So if you're in battle, I'm a Roman, I'm coming in with a sword, gash on the dude's leg. If things don't happen really fast, guess what's going to happen? He's not going to make it. So this peptide, GHK, comes out, activates stem cell production, rapid infiltration of capillary growth into the damaged tissue, gets more oxygen, gets nutrients in there, saves lives. That's why they call it the emergency response peptide. It helps us adapt to changing situations like severe weather. Now we have homes. We didn't used to have that. Changing weather, famine, battle, all of those things. They're saying that the GHK is what developed over time to adapt to those types of situations. So now we have it, and we can increase it. And so when it happens in skeletal muscle, when You know, when you go to a bodybuilding contest and you're looking at the guys or the gals and they have these huge veins and they go, whoa, look at the vascularization on that dude. It starts with GHK. GHK grows, helps get rapid infiltration of capillary growth into the muscle. And then the muscle can get bigger now. There's not elegant studies about this connection, but there's thought that it's the GHK plays a huge role in muscle building, not through hormones, but in order to build new muscles, you have to grow capillaries into it to bring oxygen so it can grow and get nutrients and proteins and amino acids and build a bigger muscle. So that all starts with the GHK copper peptide. So we covered hypoxia, or a decrease in oxygen. That's myocardial infarction. You don't have enough oxygen, the muscle just quits. So there are several very important properties that the GHK copper peptide has that improves your chances of survival and improves your chances of maintaining your vigor and vitality as you age, rather than going into that decline into frailty and disability like a lot of people do. I mean, being in LifeWave for almost 5 years now, I've seen huge changes in not just myself, but a lot of people. They look younger.
Do you know we use a picture of you, a picture of you before patches and
Oh,
after
really?
patches in our regular presentation?
Have you seen how my hair was turning brown from back to front?
Yes.
Have you seen that? A
And
friend of mine said,
I affectionately call you Grandpa Dude over here and Hot Dude over here.
what was the last part?
Hot Dude.
Hot
You go
dude.
from being Grandpa Dude to Hot Dude.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. My
So
granddaughter,
go
what
ahead.
did she say? Her friend said, "Oh my gosh, it was hilarious." She said, "You, your grandpa's a gilf."
Gil.
Horrible. I never thought I'd hear that out of my granddaughter's ear or mouth. But kids talk a little bluntly. Yeah.
Different world now for sure.
So let's get back to our topic.
So tell us how, I don't know how many guests we have on the call who don't know different ways to get the copper peptide. Can you tell different ways that you get the copper peptide? Well,
Yeah.
that someone could, but what's a preferred way?
Okay. My office is on, not so ironically, Copper Point Drive. But on the other side of Eagle Road is a doctor's office. We used to be in the same clinic, and he does alternative cancer care. Dr. Karlfeldt, he wrote the book, A Better Way to Treat Cancer. And he uses infusions of the GHK copper peptide because of their anti-cancer properties. So you can get the GHK copper peptide in an infusion. You can get it in an injection. And I know someone who runs an education system called MedMasters, and they teach alternative doctors how to do all of the regenerative medicine things, the alternative things with ozone and PRP and all of those things. Well, they teach doctors how to do that. And when she found out about GHK, and I was telling her the other way to get it, she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to have a way so that I don't have to inject. It stings like crazy. The injections are horrible." And so infusions, injections, or there's this new innovative phototherapy patch that we place on our body. And yes, there it is right there. And so I want you to, in order to understand how these work, imagine you go outside, and everybody knows when the sun hits your skin, somehow magically we get vitamin D. So I always ask people, where does it come from? Is it in the air? Is it in the UV light? How do we get vitamin D? And you know what? None of my patients have ever been able to answer that. Nobody. They say, I've never thought about that. Well, here's the story. We have trillions of nano antennas in our skin. And according to Dr. Halterwanger, he's the original scientist with LifeWave. He said they look like Wi-Fi antennas at the nuclear level. And they receive frequencies. And in order for you to understand that, I want to ask you, have you ever, well, we all humans do this. You're never going to be able to unhear this. When you walk into a new place you're not familiar with, all humans scan the room. We're looking for threats and friendlies. We look at people's faces, but we also sense their energy. There's that one dude. I don't feel good about him. I don't know what it is. He gives me bad vibes. What are vibes? Vibes are frequencies that person is emitting that are dark. It's a God-given skill that we have to sense danger. And this is why I always tell my patients with their kids, I say, if your child says they don't want to hug Uncle Bob, believe him. Don't make them. You're discounting their God-given skill of discerning, and it teaches them to ignore that. So I always say, man, if your kid says, I don't want to do this, I don't want to, whatever it is, listen. So we go outside, we get vitamin D. The UV light hits those nano antennas and it says, start up the vitamin D factory. The copper peptide factory says with a New York accent. hey, start up the, So we get vitamin D that's made by our body. So that's the system that these patches are using. And that's the brilliance of David Schmidt, the inventor. He figured out, what substances do I need to put in this little patch, Band-Aid-like thing that would form a new crystal structure. Cammie's showing it right there. The white stuff is that crystal structure. Like a diamond will refract out or separate out the frequencies, the wavelengths of light, and reflect it back into you at that specific frequency. That is the, light switch that turns on that GHK copper peptide factory. Well, here's one of the main benefits of that. It turns on the genes that signal your body to make more of your own stem cells. Stem cells. And I want to ask you, why is it that people like from Boise, they'll go down to Tijuana, they'll spend $5,000 on stem cell treatments or $10,000? Why is that? It's because it potentially changes the outcome of anything they have. Yeah, my dad had Parkinson's. He went down to Tijuana, got stem cell injections, and now he doesn't have it anymore. Or he went down and he had this and that, and now he came back and he doesn't have it. Well, for the first time in history, a person can elevate their own stem cells by wearing a little patch that also potentially changes the outcome of anything they have, except the big difference and big benefit over and above a one-time shot of stem cells is that you're elevating them every day, every day, every day. Got ample stem cells. So what happens now, your body that's supposed to kill off 50 to 70 billion cells a day, 50 to 70 billion, we're talking Pentagon numbers here. 50 to 70 billion cells are killed off if you have enough resources to replace them. If you do not, they become zombie cells. Yes, that is a term. A zombie cells is I'm too old and tired and weak to do anything, but feed me. Feed me. I need food. I want you to feed me, but I'm not going to do any work for you. And so we get what's called aging. We start to age. We can't replace those cells. They're just old. They're tired. They're sick. And I can't replace you because you're part of my kidney. Uh, I need you as a placeholder. So now you activate your own stem cells. They can become any cell. They come out and they say, hey, it looks like Cammie needs a little, needs some heart cells today. Okay, we'll be heart cells. No, it looks like Cammie needs, or Tracy needs some kidney cells. There'll be kidney cells. So you're elevating production of your own stem cells, but that's not the end of the story. It's the great repair of collagen. Remember that? All of this stuff we talked about with cardiovascular health, but that's not the end of the story. There are 3 chapters in my book about the GHK copper peptide that are on the brain. There was so much information about the brain that I had to divide it up into 3 chapters. All of the rest of the systems have 1 chapter: skin health, cardiovascular. The brain has 3 chapters: prevention of cognitive decline, neuroregeneration, regenerating neurons that we lose every day. We lose about 9,000 neurons a day, and we only replace about 4,500 of them unless we're doing a lot of new things. So I tell people, if you're right-handed, get up in the morning, brush your teeth with your left hand. If you pick up your coffee pot, if you drink coffee with your right hand, lift it up with your left, do everything exactly the opposite. And drive a different route to work, because your brain has to make a new map. In order to do that, it has to make new neurons. Do things differently. Don't get into a routine. Your brain goes, oh, this is boring. I don't have to do anything. That's the same routine. But you get up and brush your teeth with your right hand, your brain goes, what's this? This is new. What the heck? She's done this 3 mornings in a row. Guess I got to make some more neurons so she can do it better. So that's what happens. It's called neuroplasticity. It's what neuroplasticity is all about. You're doing new things all the time. So if you want to replace more of those 9,000 neurons a day, do things different. Learn a new dance. Learn how to play an instrument. Learn, listen to different music. Anything. Some people, learn how to bake. They learn how to, they can't do active things. That's okay. Do what you can do. If you can't go out and play, what's the new game everybody likes? Pickleball. If you can't go out and play pickleball, do squats onto your chair and do sideways, move back and forth sideways. Stick your foot out in front and then behind and front and behind. Do new things. Your body, your brain will make new neurons. And then you won't be the person who says to your partner every 15 minutes, now, who are you? That's kind of hard. I mean, it's kind of harsh. It's one of my goals is to, when I'm 90, I want to remember who I am. I don't want to be meeting a new person in my house every 15 minutes. And I want to be the one whose joints are healthy enough, brain is healthy enough that I'm the one who gets to go visit people in places. And I'm not stuck in the house and they have to come and visit me. If those 3 things are true, you got a lot going on when you're 90. So, yeah, is there anything else about heart health you would like to know?
Well, I wanted to have you explain to us, because I heard once on another recording you did about COVID and the COVID vaccination and what does that do to the body. You had some really good insights, and then how to help detoxify that.
Well.
Let's just open this can of worms.
Let's just take a chainsaw to the top of that can. I was telling my wife, my patients, and everybody when they first came out with that, because the people I listened to knew what they were talking about, and they were told that they were what? Conspiracy theorists. I told my wife they are going to drastically increase hypercancers because it kills off your Navy SEALs and your Marines as far as your immune system is concerned. We all get cancer cells at some point and our immune system just handles it. So it kills off that part of the immune system. So now for the rest of their life, they're more vulnerable. Just recently, SV40 was found in the Pfizer vaccine. If you don't know what that is, it will shock you. I've been studying this for 30 years. Briefly, they can't grow viruses in a petri dish. You have to grow them on living tissue. So they either grow them on aborted fetal tissue from humans that they keep alive. They have certain strains that have been alive since the 60s. They've been just, what are cells that live forever? Cancer cells. So they keep them and they grow these viruses on these cells, but they also grow them on monkey brains, dog kidney, and different tissue. They keep the tissue alive and they grow these viruses. But the problem is animals have their own set of viruses. Parvovirus, they have their own coronaviruses. They have all kinds of different viruses that we don't get. But so they grew the polio vaccine on simian monkeys. They're called green monkeys. It sounds like I am making up this wild tale, but this is actually true. They grew the viruses, they grew those all of the components to make the vaccine on simian monkeys' brains. Well, SV40 stands for simian virus number 40. That means there were 39 before that they found, but SV40 in any other organism causes cancer if it's not in a simian monkey. It doesn't cause cancer in simian monkeys, it causes cancer in any other organism, including humans. 110 million people got the polio vaccine that was tainted with SV40. This is one of the reasons that JFK was killed, because he was about to disclose that. Most people have never heard that. It goes really, really deep in this SV40 because SV40 has been found in the COVID vaccine. So that's another reason why we have all of these cancers all over the world. Was it intentional? I don't know. I know that people got that virus need to be doing detoxing, and Dr. Peter McCullough's protocol is nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin. There's 2,000 milligrams of nattokinase, 500 of bromelain, 500 of curcumin every day. You got to dissolve the spike protein, because what they did is the mRNA gets into your genes and it programs your genes to just keep making spike proteins, unfortunately. So there's a huge detox that needs to happen. I mean, it's tragic. And I wish I could just say, hey, everything's okay. But it's not. And tell everyone you know, don't ever get anything that somebody's paying people to get, saying it is good for you. If it's good for you, you'd be clamoring to get it. And
What doctor was that?
The truth is going to come out soon about all of the rest of the vaccines. And I have been an outspoken person about that for a very long time. One of the most rewarding things ever happened to me out in public. This woman came up to me and she said, hey, Dr. Harmon, remember me? Yeah, I was a patient back in 2010 or whatever it was. She said, thank you for having that information about vaccines in your waiting room. Because of those pamphlets, none of my kids got any of the vaccines. And I said, I saved another group of kids. And we have people come into my office, and the mothers, we treat them for the effects of the vaccines. These kids are autistic. And the moms say, I told the pediatrician the next day that how terribly my child responded. And usually it just shows that the vaccines are working, or no, it didn't have anything to do with the vaccine. And they look me in the eye and they say,
Not too busy. You can't do anything anymore.
need to mute somebody.
You did.
They say from that day, my child was different. They lost a lot of words. Their poop smelled different. Their facial expression was different. Everything about my child was different. I can't even count how many parents told me that. Moms, it was the moms. And now we treat them in my clinic, and the parents have a full-time job taking care of a vaccine damaged kid. And I think the truth is going to come out really soon about all that. It already
It
is
is
starting.
coming out. We're all
Yeah,
doing
it
our
is.
part
Well,
to share.
you got me onto a topic I'm very passionate about the only time I ever experienced the emotion of anger when when a mom brings their child in and tells me that story. And I want to tell you, moms on this call, the wellness visit at the pediatrician is the most dangerous day of a child's life.
Mm.
The most dangerous day of a child's life, because they're going to get up to 6 vaccines. Each one of them has aluminum. Some of them have mercury. All of them have polysorbate 80 in them. Polysorbate 80 pokes holes in your blood-brain barrier, so the big stuff of aluminum can get up into there.
Wow.
So when you take your child to the pediatrician for the wellness visit, you will have to watch like a hawk, or they're going to get all of these vaccines.
Mhm.
And the potential for harm is great. Not all kids do that. And there's probably some that have genetic variants like the MTHFR or the COMT or other things, but they're not able to detox. And you don't know if your kid is one of them. I'm not afraid to talk about that. I don't care what people think. If I'm a conspiracy theorist, it doesn't matter to me. It's like Tom Homan
The
said.
science, I think, eventually comes out. Like, I didn't know about the polysorbate 80,
Mhm.
but I wasn't vaccinated as a child, and that was my parents' choice based on
Yeah.
their information and convictions. And I chose not to vaccinate my kids based on my information and my, convictions. But more and more information is coming out, and I think it's our job to just inform and speak the truth in love.
Yeah.
That's all. Just
Yeah,
keep
because there
speaking the
are
truth in
people
love.
that are so passionate about it, and they just believed
Mhm.
everything they've been told. They believe that their kids are going to get sick. Heck, we used to have chickenpox party.
Mhm.
Get it all out of the way at the same time. And here's the real tragedy of this whole thing, besides the toxins. When a child gets chickenpox or the measles, their body is better after they fought it off. Their
Yes.
immune system is stronger after they fought it off. It's like being a helicopter mom and catching your child every time they fall down, and the child never learns how to deal with things like that, never learns how to be strong on its own. That's what we're doing to the immune system, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm share your disdain and opinion and anger and frustration about that as well, because
Yeah.
and I've had many kind, I hope, respectful, because the people who literally are, the nurses and the doctors or the moms, everybody is trying to do what they believe is best at
Right.
this level. And so that's the hard part, is that it's somewhere down the line, it's not the individuals. Every mom wants what's best for their child. And we are told to trust the doctors. So,
Yeah,
um,
one more thing I wanted to say. The vaccines have squalene in them as well. Squalene is very similar to part of our nerves. And so what happens when you're injected with squalene, your body makes antibodies to that squalene, but then it attaches to our nerves and kills the nerve. That's why people get Bell's palsy and all of these other problems with their nerves, or Guillain-Barré. That's an extreme
mhm.
case of that. Um, I was in a doctor's office and I saw this. I haven't seen him in a long time, but his mom used to work for me, and he came in as a patient. And I got to know him pretty well, and I hadn't seen him, and I hadn't seen him on Facebook, and I saw him in this doctor's office. And I said, Matt, what have you been doing? He said, I almost died. I go, what? He said, yeah, I got Guillain-Barré. I couldn't move at all. I couldn't move anything. Couldn't even talk. All I could do is blink my eyes. And my family would go through the alphabet, start with A, no, no, they'd go through it, and then they could spell out words very painfully. So, but I said, I didn't want to offend him or anything. I said, do you have any idea what could cause it? He said, oh, I know what caused it. It was that COVID vaccine. They were coming around to offices, giving him the shots, and he sold insurance and he wanted to keep working. So he got it within a day, Guillain-Barré, and he was out on his back in
Wow.
the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Wow.
And
To talk about happier things, John, can you
We
tell
have this,
one
yeah.
of the most profoundly
got
exciting changes you have witnessed from somebody using the patches?
Early on, I got to interview Rose Holmberg, and she had rheumatoid arthritis for 60 years. She had so much pain in her hand that she couldn't lift her covers over her at night. Her husband had to do it. When I interviewed her, it was shortly after I started with LifeWave. It had been a year since she had any pain at all. And so that was 4 years ago. So here's this woman who got rheumatoid arthritis when she was in junior high, I think it was, and doesn't have that anymore. And people will say, well, did it cure her? And I say, who cares? She's not going to go back to that doctor and get an official diagnosis. But if she doesn't have pain, then that's a good thing. I would say probably the second most dramatic shift was a patient. Actually, they brought the wife in for anxiety in my Clearmind, Idaho, where I help people with brain stuff. But I noticed he was moving so slow, and he's not really old, not that old. It's probably, I'd say, late 30s, maybe. And I said, what's going on with you? And he said, well, he started telling me a story. He was diagnosed with ALS-like symptoms that they didn't know what to say. He has these very, very thin discs. I think it was 4 discs that looked like they were non-existent in his back. He was taking 8 to 10 oxycodone a day. He took $1,100 a month worth of prescription drugs. And let's see what else. They had fertility issues. They wanted to have another baby, couldn't. 10 days after he started on the X39, he was able to run in our parking lot.
Wow.
So
oh,
his testimonial can be found on whathaveyouheard.com. The testimonial's at the bottom. His name is Scott Allen. He actually called me a couple of summers ago just to thank me. You know, it's one of those things I get endorphins from. He said, I don't take any prescriptions. I'm employed. I play with my kids, and we had another baby.
oh, that's fantastic.
So
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it was really touching to see that man's life change. So those are 2 of the really great ones, I think. I've seen so
But
many though.
I know that you've shared too, like just from the pictures on the Start X39 Now website, the child's fingertip that was cut off.
Yeah.
I have saved kids here.
Was
Fingers.
it even your own grandson?
Oh, my grandsons, yeah. So let's see, November 4th, he was doing the final mowings. He has his own lawn mowing business, and he has a mower that has a rotary blade spinning this way. And he's on the high school basketball team. And one of his buddies wanted to go help him get the lawns mowed really quickly so they could go to basketball practice. So my grandson has AirPods, which I don't agree with, but I don't control my grandkids. Those are really harmful, by the way. You got Bluetooth going between those 2 things all the time, constantly. So he had those in because he listens to music when he's mowing. But his friend started the mower after he put his earbuds in, and he didn't know it was going. And his friend said, hey, is it at the right height? Because apparently he had told him they had to raise it up for the winter. So he reached down underneath the frame of that thing. It cut off the tips of 3 of his fingers and just a little tiny bit in one. When I got the text from not his mom, my oldest daughter, but my second daughter, it was Teague got 3 of his fingers cut off. And I was absolutely horrified. And so I raced to the hospital. His best friend, who plays on the basketball team, not the one who was mowing with him, was so upset. He got in an accident going to the hospital. He wasn't injured, but the doctor said, yeah, the earliest you're going to play basketball is going to be around 10th of January. He was back playing varsity basketball on December 20th. So almost 3 weeks earlier than the doctor said. Because guess what we got on him over the bandages? And you can do that, by the way. X39.
Wow.
Like here,
Ah,
I handed my daughter, here's get this kid all patched up. So they used LifeWave instead of pain pills and the X39.
wow.
So, and he played all season. He was a starter for the basketball team. And I sent him a text. They didn't win the championship or anything, but I said, you know what, Teague, hold your head up high, man. You didn't play the victim. You didn't feel sorry for yourself. The first thing he did when I walked in the hospital room, he says, yeah, I'll be back to playing soon.
Wow.
I mean, just
I'd say that's the perfect segue for us to talk about the patches. We have some questions here too.
okay.
So as soon as we get about how you can get your hands on these patches.
Everybody's showing muted. I don't know where that sound's coming from.
Okay, let's see. Just did a mute all.
I
Okay.
unmuted myself.
Thank you. Okay, one quick minute, because you hear all this greatness about these patches now, right? You want to know how you get your hands on them. And then Dr. Harmon's going to take some questions. So that patch that he's talking about that he used on the grandson to help bring back that GHK copper peptide is the flagship product called X39. And we get 30 of these patches in a package for an amazing value of $149.95. And that's at retail. So, he's talking about going to Tijuana, $5,000, $10,000. You're getting somebody else's DNA. You don't know what you're getting. This is your own coming back from dormancy to vitality that can go in and repair things like cut off fingers and aortic valves and all this greatness you're hearing about tonight. But here's the cool thing. We can help you get it for less than that. $99.95 is the wholesale price. And we love to help people get a wholesale kit. You probably understand the Costco shopping model. We have the same thing here at LifeWave. But what we'd love to do to give your body the best opportunity to repair, regenerate, and restore is to pair that X39 with Aeon. We love this patch, and we call these two together the dynamic duo. And if Cami or I help build a pack for you, we're going to make sure you always get these two. We don't want you starting out with X39 because that's the slow boat to China. It will do amazing things, but it's going to slow down the process. And everyone wants things yesterday, right? So we like Aeon and X39. We're looking at reducing swelling, also known as inflammation. It's also an anti-stress. People call this the happy patch. It just really calms you down. And that is raising a peptide in the liver. Game changer. Now, if somebody's dealing with pain, we like to add the LifeWave patch with that. And that is reducing pain. It's a pain blocker. No stimulants, nothing going into the bloodstream, all natural. And that is a game changer. The day we put that on Eric after spinal fusion surgery that wasn't healing for 6 months, and the pain was gone in about a minute, he had a really hard time wrapping his head around, how could this be? Trust me, it's very real. Key is you got to have a lot of water. This is working on a bioelectrical connection, polarity in the body, two-patch system. Amazing. And then when Dr. Harmon was talking about the collagen, the importance of collagen for everything in the body, be it pretty skin, hair, the beautiful veins, the whole part of that heart, it all comes from collagen, that soft tissue, ligament, tendon, um, all of that is regenerated when we bring back our own collagen, which we lose with age. It's also helping brain support, sleep, lengthening telomeres, and it's just amazing. And that is available. Any of these supportive patches, we call them, are $79.95. Again, you're getting 30 of them. And that's a one-time purchase at retail. Or better yet, let's get them cheaper because we can get you a kit, a package of these, and we get them as low as $49.95 for 30. So it's quite a great deal. We have something new coming out in March, and some of us have been very fortunate to be demoing this right now. And Eric and I are almost to the bottom, and we're scraping every little bit because we love how we feel on this supplement. It is perfect blend of vitamins and minerals to allow your body to maximize the ability to produce stem cells. The patches just work better when you have optimum nutrition and hydration, and this is a game changer. So I've stopped all my other vitamins. I'm just doing this, and I've never slept better and had more energy throughout the day. And it's really great. So I mentioned those wholesale kits, and we can get you a core package. It's $295. That's a one-time only purchase. And that's enough product for one user to get your body back in alignment. We're looking for homeostasis here, balance. We can get you an X39 and a combination of supportive patches. 3 points in total, however we want to spend those patches, and we help customize this for you. If we're talking about a couple or a family, we can get you the next size package, which is the advanced, $535, a one-time purchase. You're getting double the product, but it's not double the cost. I love this because it's like getting one supportive pack of your choice free. Or we can get you the big kit, the premium, for $1,750 one time. And if you might have a hair salon, you're a massage therapist, you have a practice, you'd like to have a lot of product on hand, or you have a really big family, or you're just generous and you want to give these out to people as gifts, you can get 20 points here, and that is the lowest unit cost. But then we like to help you with your monthly subscription because 1 month of using these is not enough. You've just scratched the surface. You're waking up a few stem cells, you're detoxifying, you're doing some good things interior of the body. But it doesn't happen overnight because we didn't get our issues overnight. They're not going to go away overnight, right? So we like to help you get at least X39 on that monthly subscription, and that at wholesale, $99.95. So once you bought one of these packs, you always get wholesale pricing. And we look at this as sharing the gift of health, and it really is priceless. And John, you could see him light up when he told you the most exciting things he's seen. I do this because I'm kind of hooked on things like my friend Joy's traumatic brain injury, went away in about a month. She'd lived with it for 5.5 years. You get kind of excited when you see these kinds of things happening. But the reality is, in our country, due to FDA regulations, the company cannot advertise. So it really comes down to learning from a friend. And Cami and I look at this as a social responsibility to share. And this is the fastest direct marketing company in America for the second year in a row. For a reason. The products work. There's nothing out there like it. Patented. Only company in the world you can get this from. So if you were interested in ordering, we'd refer you back to the person who invited you here tonight. And your first order comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But here's the reality. Never have anybody who really wants their money back. They usually want their old health, what they were like when they were in their 20s and their 30s, and that's what we're talking about. And we invite you every Monday and Tuesday night. Cami, Joy, and I are here at 6 o'clock on Monday. It's typically a 30-minute just intro on Monday, but this was a special night when Dr. Harmon could join us. And on Tuesday nights is usually when we do a deeper dive, a 1-hour session. We'll do the intro, and then we'll go deep dive on a different topic each week. And Wednesdays, Marcy does a 4 p.m. Patching party. It's a 30-minute one, and that's always fun too. But really, it comes down to health is happiness. So we'd love to help you on your journey to a healthier and happier life. And we're here to help. And it's quite an honor and a joy for us to get to help people. So now I'm going to turn it over to our questions. Cami, I see some here in chat. Did you want to?
Dr. Harmon has been answering some questions in the chat. And I want to be respectful of Dr. Harmon's time as their, was there any questions in the chat that we didn't get answered? That's what I was trying to pull out.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, AFib. Somebody asked about AFib. I've actually had 2 friends who had AFib who don't have AFib anymore.
What is AFib? I mean, it's
Atrial fibrillation.
irregular heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of people with that.
Think quivering rather than contracting.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. I think I'll beat.
Okay.
I'm not beating in rhythm. Let's see.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we can't thank you enough, Dr. Harmon, for taking your time tonight. And if there is any more questions, or you have a few more minutes, John, you'd like to hang out, and we hope to see everybody back tomorrow night. We'll be here with our intro, and again next Monday and Tuesday. And thanks for joining us.
Yes.